a customer has asked us to build him a custom rifle, and as a stock he's picked the GRS laminated wooden stock. And for us to build a custom rifle without compromising accuracy, we need to pillar bed the rifle into the GRS stock. So the first thing that we need to do is to put aluminium pillars into the stock. And as you can see, there's a pair of pillars here behind which we've cut to dimensions, and we've cut grooves in the outside of the pillars. And to accommodate the pillars, we first of all have to go in with a thing called a counterbore, and that opens up the existing bolt stock holes to 9/16 so that it's big enough to take the aluminium pillars. And then what we do is, because there are grooves on the outside of the pillars to accommodate the epoxy material, we also then go in with a 5/8 by 18 tap, and we tap the bolt holes in the stock to 5/8 by 18. And if you look closely, you can see that the pillar hole in the front of that stock is in fact threaded. And that means that when we put the aluminium pillar into the stock, there are recesses on the pillars to accommodate the epoxy, and now there is a recess all the way down through the stock in the form of the thread to take epoxy material. So we get a really good bond between the stock and the aluminium pillars. We use exactly the same Marine Tex bedding material to glue the pillars into the stock as we do to bed the rifle. And someone sent us an email the other day asking us how we get the Marine Tex into the syringe. So I thought I'd show you how we do that. It's as simple as rolling the syringe and packing it like that. And now you've got bedding material inside your syringe, ready to glue your pillars in place. To apply the bedding compound to the pillars, use a syringe and go all the way around the pillar to make sure you don't leave any gaps. I've already put a bead around the top of the pillar hole in the stock, and in that way you get epoxy down into the thread in the stock, you get epoxy into the grooves in the pillar, and then when the rifle sets up in the stock, you get lots of mechanical purchase between the two parts, and the pillars won't ever come out unless you break the stock. So, with bedding material on the pillars and a bead around the top of each of those two holes, start with the rear pillar. And then, nothing more scientific than insulating tape. Hold this together. All we're trying to do is set the pillars in at the right height for now. We're not bedding the gun, we're just epoxying the pillars in place. Then we'll take all this apart and start the process of bedding the rifle. Once the epoxy is set up overnight, you can take the tape off, undo the two stock bolts, and you can take the barrel action out of the stock. And now the aluminium pillars are epoxied into the stock and are now permanently part of the stock. We can then machine out this bedding material, relieve some stock material where the rifle will sit, and that will accommodate more bedding compound when we come to bed the rifle next. You'll also see that these aluminium pillars are below the surface of the stock, and this is intentional. And you can see, particularly in this rear pillar, you can see that this pillar is below the stock line. And that's because the customers decided they want a detachable box mag system fitted, and we're fitting the Badger Ordnance detachable box mag system in long action in 338 Lapua Magnum. And these pillars are cut to the correct depth so that when we relieve the stock to accommodate the floor plate, the magazine is presented at exactly the right height. So what we're going to do next is relieve out this excess bedding material, and then we'll go in and bed the rifle to the pillars.